5:23 p.m., February 19th, TNT local time. Over the skies of the Red Sea in Yemen, tense silence was suddenly torn apart. A U.S. Air Force F-16 Fighting Falcon from the 421st Squadron was on patrol, escorting U.S. naval forces off the coast of Yemen. For hours, the mission seemed routine. Radar sweeps, electronic observation, maintaining control of the skies. But within seconds, the Houthis would attempt something unprecedented, launching a surface-to-air missile at a manned American aircraft. This was no longer about harassment with UAVs as before. This was a dangerous escalation. Hidden near the city of Houthi, a Houthi SA-6 gainful surface-to-air missile battery silently powered up. Originally manufactured by the Soviet Union, this weapon later fell into Houthi hands from Yemen's stockpiles, with Iranian assistance in upgrading. The SA-6 can fire missiles with a 23-kilometer range, reaching Mach 2.8, guided by semi-active radar homing. The system had been camouflaged among palm groves and low-rise buildings, with antennae carefully oriented to minimize detection. Its crew had trained extensively, running drills to simulate incoming aircraft under the harsh heat and chaotic environment of the western Yemeni coast. As soon as its radar locked onto the F-16, the Houthi crew pressed the launch button. A blazing white trail ripped through the sky, streaking directly toward the American fighter. The missile's speed was staggering, and its radar seeker honed in on the smallest variations in the F-16's reflective surface. Every second counted. The pilot, recognizing the lock-on warning on the cockpit HUD, had mere moments to decide whether to deploy countermeasures or execute evasive maneuvers. A split-second error could be fatal. Because semi-active radar guidance requires continuous illumination of the target, breaking that lock meant the missile would effectively go blind. The F-16 pilot banked sharply, simultaneously releasing chaff and flares to confuse the radar and infrared sensors. The missile, its seeker now scanning for a target signature, wobbled slightly as it lost consistent guidance. Dust and heat shimmered off the desert below, further complicating its tracking. The battle between man, machine, and missile played out in a fraction of a minute. A tense duel where training, instincts, and technology collided. Meanwhile, the missile battery's operators monitored the sky with intense focus, ready to reset and launch again if necessary, understanding that even a single hit could alter the course of the mission. The surrounding landscape, with its mix of urban structures and sparse desert, created natural concealment for the battery, making counterstrikes difficult. From a distance, the engagement looked like a fleeting streak of white fire, but within it was a lethal choreography of speed, precision, and nerve, underscoring the dangers faced by modern aircraft operating within hostile, well-prepared air defense zones. Electronic warfare systems on the F-16. This F-16 was no ordinary jet. It was fully equipped with advanced electronic warfare and active defense systems, AN and APG-83 Sabre AESA radar. The aircraft's eye, able to detect missile launches at over 40 kilometers. PIDS, Pylon Integrated Dispensing System, mounted on the wings, firing off thermal flares and metallic chaff. MJU-50B flares and RR-180 chaff, generating false signals to deceive both radar and infrared seekers. AN ALQ-184 jamming pod, underbelly mounted, broadcasting powerful signals across two 120 GHz, disrupting hostile radar tracking. The moment the missile warning system blared, the pilot dove sharply from 9,000 man-hours to 4,500 millimeters, simultaneously altering course in rapid succession to throw off the intercept geometry. But the Houthis didn't fire just one missile. Within seconds, multiple SA-6s were launched in salvo. The lone F-16 was forced into a violent aerial dance above a fiery Red Sea sky. The duel unfolded step by step like a deadly choreography. Radar detection, AESA radar caught the launch signature at 42 kilometers. Evasive maneuver, a steep dive forced the missile to burn excessive energy. Countermeasure deployment, PIDS released 12 flares and 24 chaff bundles, creating a half-kilometer cloud of false targets. Electronic jamming, the ALQ-184 pod blasted powerful signals, severing the guidance link between missile and tracking radar. Once the radar lock was broken, The SA-6's accuracy dropped by 70%. One by one, the missiles veered off course and plunged into the sea. The Houthis had revealed their position, and the Americans now knew exactly where to strike back. At 6:07 p.m., another U.S. asset entered the danger zone. An MQ-9 Reaper UAV launched from Camp Lemonnier in Djibouti. Its mission was to monitor Houthi supply convoys around Hodeidah. Enraged by their failure against the F-16, the SA-6 battery fired again, this time at a far less maneuverable target. Unlike a fighter, the Reaper could not outmaneuver or outrun missiles. It relied on early warning sensors and expendable countermeasures. ALR-69 radar warning system detected SA-6 radar signals up to 200 kilometers away. Pandora IR optical sensors provided 360-degree missile launch detection. ALE-47 dispenser, capable of firing both flares and chaff. Countermeasure stockpile, 12 full bursts, each with 6 to 8 decoys. The instant Pandora flashed a warning, the UAV deployed 8 flares within 4 seconds, generating a false thermal cloud spanning 300 millimeters. At the same time, metallic chaff clouds disrupted the radar track. The Reaper climbed to over 4,500 miller, narrowing the missile's tracking angle. The missile missed, detonating nearby, but shrapnel punctured its right wing. Shaken but intact, the UAV limped back to base. The F-16's electronic warfare systems were the decisive factor that saved its pilot from the deadly SA-6 salvo. This was not merely a matter of a few flares. It was a full-spectrum defensive ecosystem designed to turn the fighter into a ghost on radar. The AN/ALQ-184 ECM pod, slung under the fuselage, was one of the U.S.'s most powerful multi-band countermeasure systems. It could jam across C-band, X-band, and Ku-band, the same frequencies Soviet-era SAMs like the SA-6 relied upon. By saturating the Houthi radar with noise, it prevented reliable target tracking. The optional ALQ-131 Block 2 pod could perform adaptive jamming, analyzing the incoming radar type and automatically choosing the most effective mode: spot jamming, barrage jamming, or deception jamming. In deception mode, it could even generate phantom targets hundreds of meters away, luring missiles off course. MJU-50B flares burned hotter than a jet engine, overwhelming infrared seekers. Pilots could dispense them singly or in bursts, creating entire clouds of false targets. RR-180 chaff dispersed millions of aluminum-coated fibers, producing radar reflections many times stronger than the F-16 itself, dazzling enemy radar screens. All these systems were integrated by the Defensive Electronic Warfare Suite on board. When the radar warning receiver, RWR, detected a lock, it automatically suggested countermeasures: maneuver, chaff flare release, or jamming activation. The pilot needed only split-second confirmation. Additionally, the F-16 was networked to E3 AWACS via Link 16, giving it real-time intelligence on Houthi radar activity. This meant the pilot could anticipate threats and deliberately bait missiles into prelay traps of decoys. Against a 1960s-era SAM like the SA-6, the F-16's fourth-generation electronic warfare suite was overwhelmingly superior, like a laser shield against an old bow and arrow. This was the first time the Houthis had directly targeted a manned U.S. fighter. Until now, their efforts had been focused on UAVs or naval assets. The red line had been crossed. In CENTCOM headquarters and the White House, alarm bells rang. The question was no longer if the U.S. would respond, but how devastating the response would be. Within 8 hours, the destroyer USS Spruance, DDG-111, closed in on Yemen. Instead of Tomahawks, the Navy launched something more symbolic: SM-6 Standard missiles. Though designed as air defense interceptors, the SM-6 can strike ground targets at Mach 3.5, carrying a 1.5-ton warhead, nearly impossible to intercept. At 3:45 a.m., 2 SM-66 streaked across the sea and slammed into the Houthi SA-6 site near Hodeidah. The result, 8 operators killed, their radar installation obliterated. By 6:00 p.m. the next day, the carrier USS Harry S. Truman, CVN-75, launched multiple sorties. FA-18 Super Hornets carried AGM-154J submarine glide bombs, each capable of traveling 130 km and delivering either 145 BLU-97 bomblets or a 90-kilo warhead. Released from high altitude, the JSOWs penetrated deep into Yemeni territory, smashing ammunition depots, missile storage bunkers, and command centers. To finish the job, USS Gravely, DDG-107, fired 6 Tomahawks, leveling the area completely. Confirmed losses: 14 Qaher M2 ballistic missiles, Iranian upgraded Scud variants, 3 more SA-6 launchers, 23 anti-ship cruise missiles stored near Sana'a. This series of events carried consequences far beyond a single battle. Message to the Houthis: attacking manned U.S. aircraft triggers overwhelming retaliation. Warning to Iran: Tehran's role in providing technology and advisors made this a direct signal. Demonstration of joint power: from UAVs to fighters, destroyers, and carriers, the U.S. showcased unmatched cross-domain integration. Lesson in electronic warfare: modern ECM proved more than capable of neutralizing upgraded but outdated SAM systems. Analysts see this as a textbook case of multi-domain warfare: electronic, air defense, missile, naval, and strategic escalation management all in one. In just 48 hours, the battlefield shifted dramatically. The Houthis believed striking at a U.S. fighter would change the rules of engagement. Instead, they exposed their air defenses and suffered one of the harshest retaliatory blows since the start of the conflict. The F-16, with its cutting-edge electronic warfare systems, not only survived but turned the tables, demonstrating why manned aircraft remain central to modern warfare in the face of evolving threats.